Assalamu alaikum student. This is Dr. Samina Qasim, your personal development course facilitator. Today, I'm going to give you a lecture on presentation skills. Learning outcomes include determine the elements required in making successful presentations, using verbal and non-verbal communication as an important aspect of conveying a central idea, demonstrate quality oral presentations, catch the important message from the conversation, paraphrase and counter-check message with the speaker. Presentation skills are important in general. It can have different objectives. Number 1, to inform. Number 2, to sell something. Number 3, to persuade someone. Number 4, to train people. Academic presentations are mostly meant for informing and training. Now, the question is, what irritates people most during presentations? This is what irritates people while presentation. The speaker was nervous. The speaker was disorganized. The speaker never looked at me. The speaker had bad accent. The speaker did not sound enthusiastic. The speaker was monotonous. The visuals were bad. I was irritated by his or her clothing. The speaker was speaking too softly. The speech was confused. I didn't know what he or she was trying to tell me. Tips for effective presentation. To avoid any negative outcome, the following aspects are important in making a presentation. Preparation and planning. Language of presentations. Visual equipment. The presentation itself. Now I'm going to explain you all these things one by one. We start off with preparation and planning. When you plan your presentation, you need to answer the following questions. Who is my audience? How much they know about my topic? How am I going to organize my topic? It needs to tell a story. How long should my presentation be? You will have time limits and you need to say everything within that time frame. What visual supports shall I use? Shall I use PowerPoint or transparencies or models or any object? Plan your presentation carefully. This is the basic structure of a talk. Introduction, main part, conclusion, then last is question and answer session. This means that you need to plan every part carefully. Your presentation must tell a story. At this stage, you are like a screenwriter, someone who is writing a play. Now, introduction. Introduction is probably the most important part. The purpose of introduction is to tell the audience, what are you going to tell them? You should remember that there is no chance for a first bad impression. If you start off badly, you will spoil everything. During the introduction, you need to achieve the following aims. Gain attention, attract interest, create desire, and stimulate action. Getting started. Greeting the audience. What you need to do first is to greet your audience. Here are some useful phrases. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to my presentation. It's very nice to see you all here today. Can we get started? Let me say just a few words about my background. Then you proceed to the introduction to your topic. This is how you greet the audience and take a start. Making an effective opening. There are several ways how to attract the audience right from the beginning. Think one of the following techniques to introduce your talk. Give them a problem to think about. Suppose you, why is it that? Or you can give them some amazing fact. Did you know that? Or give them a story or a personal anecdote. Stories always attract attention. Use a citation if you want to start on a more philosophical note. Make a funny remark, but be careful with humor. Not all jokes work well. Record a music piece, perhaps, if appropriate for that topic. Possible introduction schemes. Start with welcoming courtesies. Introduce yourself. State the purpose of your talk using one of the techniques. Give a route map. Tell them how long will your presentation take. Give the rules. Do not allow to be interrupted. Or should your audience keep questions until the end? Some useful phrases. What I want to do this morning is to. My talk will take about 30 minutes. During my presentation, I'm going to be focusing on four main areas. I'll be giving out copies of my transparencies at the end. If you have any questions or comments you would like to make, please don't hesitate to stop me. Putting parts together. Particularly if you are working in a group, it is important that you put the parts of your speech in a logical sequence. Your presentation needs to tell a story and be told in a simple language so that the audience can follow you. You will no doubt discover many ideas that you want to include in your presentation, but you must be selective. Include only the information that is relevant to your audience and your objectives. Leave all the other ideas out. What approach should you use? Formal or informal? Lots of visual aids are only a few. But remember, your time is always limited. Therefore, be selective. Language matters. Spoken versus written style. The language of presentation is different from the language that is used in publication or course books. The language used in books are complex and long, with lots of technical words. For presentation, you should make your language as simple and clear as you can. Adapt and simplify the text of your report to make it easier for your audience to follow you. Make your sentences short and simple. Use active verbs instead of passive verbs. Active verbs are much easier to understand. They are much more powerful. Consider these two sentences which say the same thing. Toyota sold 2 million cars last year. 2 million cars were sold by Toyota last year. Now you tell me which sentence is more powerful. Obviously, the first one, which is in the active form, active verb. Adapting the language. Now you see the first paragraph is from the book. Chemistry is an area of study which touches human life at innumerable points. It is a science which forms a bridge between physics and biology, as well as between earth sciences and life and medical sciences. It is therefore a central science which holds the key to an appreciation and understand of life cycles on the one hand, through to the man-made processes on the other hand. Now just look at the example above. It has been taken from a course book. It was meant for reading, but not for writing or not for speaking. You cannot possibly use the same text for speaking. The language is much too condensed and complicated. The sentences are too long and difficult to follow. The same idea can be simplified by paraphrasing. As for example, chemistry is a science which touches our lives at many points. It forms a bridge between physics and biology, earth sciences and medical sciences. We can say that with chemistry, we can better understand life cycles on the one hand and man-made processes on the other hand, right? This is how you're supposed to do and you should do instead of reading the extracts from the book. It makes very difficult for the audience to understand. Use as simple language as you can in your presentation. So it will be easier for the audience to understand. Signposting. When you drive on roads, you follow the signs and you cannot get lost. Similarly, when you give a presentation, you need to give signals to your audience to know where they are and what is coming next. They know it because you tell them by giving signposts at the beginning and all along the way. This technique is called signposting or signaling. Look at this example. I'll start by describing the current position in Europe, then I'll move on to some of the achievements we have made in Asia. After that, I'll consider the opportunities we see for further expansion in Africa. Lastly, I'll quickly recap before concluding with some recommendations. Use signposting in your presentation is the hallmark of the language of presentations. The more you see the signposting phrases, the lighter and easier the language becomes. Signposting phrases will help you lead your audience. They will know where you are. The example below explain the signposting in your presentation. Ending your talk. When you come to the end of your presentation, you need to indicate this to the people. Don't just end up abruptly without giving a conclusion. The purpose of the conclusion is to tell people what you have told them. Follow the scheme. Summarize the fact, give recommendation, give proposal, thank the audience, invite for questions. This is how you should end up your talk. Now, the conclusion. Simplify the text, whatever you have presented in your presentation. Focus your material. You can't see everything. Make central idea. Use transition, signposting to move smoothly. Use examples, anecdotes, statistics to support your message. Use visual to reinforce the message. Consider timings. Practice alone and with the whole group. This is basically the marking criteria for presentation. Information is presented in a logical sequence. 1 mark. Introduction is attention getting. If it's so, you'll get 1 mark. Lay out the problem well and establishing a framework through vision for the rest of the presentation, 1 mark. Presentation contains accurate information, 1 mark. Appropriate amount of material is prepared and points made reflect well with their relative importance, 1 mark. There is an obvious conclusion summarizing the presentation with recommendations, 1 mark. Speaker maintains good eye contact with the audience and is appropriately animated. It means gestures, moving around, all these things, 1 mark. Speaker uses a clear, audible voice, 1 mark. Delivery is composed, controlled, and smooth, 0.5 mark. Good language skills and pronunciation are used, 1 mark. Visual aids are well prepared, informative, effective, and not distracting, 1 mark. Length of presentation is within the assigned time limit. Let's suppose if it's of 6 minutes, you have wind up your whole presentation in 6 minutes. If it's so, you'll get 0.5 marks. The overall total point is out of 10 marks. So this is how the distribution of presentation, right? So coming week also you have your presentation, so keep in mind all these points and I'll be grading according to this. Okay, so if you, I hope this lecture is clear to you all. Now you won't be having any difficulty in giving presentations. Go through the lecture. If you have any problem, do let me know. Email me. Okay, thank you so much.